The abrasiveness of China's diplomatic missions is only increasing. Chinese diplomats are bullying and abusing anyone who criticizes their regime. First, it was the Chinese envoy to Nepal, then the Consul General of Kolkata. And now the Chinese embassy in Sri Lanka is trying to enforce the dragon's will and narrative. Its actions and words are typical of other Chinese missions, and they are the opposite of diplomatic. So much so that Twitter decided to temporarily suspend the account of the Chinese embassy in Sri Lanka. It's a bizarre story. You must listen to this. Let me explain. The Chinese embassy in Colombo had an unverified Twitter handle. Not many people knew about its official status, and this account was repeatedly being used and accused of using undiplomatic language. It constantly engaged in a heated war of words with several Twitter users and trolls. Let me show you. A few days back, one user asserted that the quote-unquote low-class Chinese authoritarianism had become a curse to the world. Well, what was the Chinese embassy's response? Let me quote an excerpt from the response. Total deaths in China are 3,334 till today, much smaller than your Western high-class governments. Who is cursed? Question mark. Now, Twitter apparently assumed that this was a parody account for its use of unparliamentary language. So it decided to suspend this account. After all, which diplomatic mission speaks like this? Well, they were mistaken. This was indeed the official Twitter account of the Chinese embassy. The Chinese embassy made a quote-unquote solemn request for a clarification. The press release is on your screen. It claims that Twitter apologized for its systematic mistake and unsuspended the embassy's account, which is great. But it doesn't end there. Brace yourselves for this. Today, the Chinese embassy decided to preach Twitter on Twitter about freedom of speech and following rules. Freedom of speech. This is made in China irony. The Chinese tweeted, and listen to this very carefully, "We believe if Twitter could follow the laws and rules of China, the market might also be open to them." Twitter is banned in China. Follow the laws and rules of China. As simple as that. Well, this statement may be meant for somebody else, but it also explains why we have been blocked by the Chinese regime. We are not following their rules and not towing their line. But they're also trying to keep up the pressure. For the third time, the Chinese embassy in New Delhi has slammed, quote-unquote, certain Indian media for not believing them. They say that Indian media is ignoring the facts that China officially released, their words. They hope that this certain media discards ideological prejudice and does not ignore, with quote-unquote tinted glasses, the precious time China bought for international response. In a nutshell, follow the laws and rules of China. That's what they're implying. This virus knows no borders. Neither does the dragon's domineering, from corrupting journalists with money to targeting them for not telling the China story well. Beijing is going all out and rewriting the narrative of this pandemic. Well, some of us will continue the pushback.